And so I guess one thing we could do is take our initial...
Ray Arvidson and NASA's Opportunity rover have a long history together, well before Opportunity launched in July 2003. Arvidson even lived on Mars time to make the most of Opportunity's first days on the Red Planet 15 years ago. It landed on January 25th, 2004.
We were all at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory living on Mars time. That's 39 minutes later than an Earth day. So you have this crazy kind of shift cycle when you go in to work 39 minutes later each day.
Living on Mars time was part of his job as the deputy principal investigator for the Mars Exploration Rover mission. On that January day in 2004, Opportunity was suddenly immersed in a new environment, and Arvidson knew what he wanted the rover to find. And it happened. The rover scored a hole-in-one by finding the mineral hematite that typically forms in water.
So we landed in these vast plains called Meridiani Planum because we knew from orbital data there was a mineral there called hematite, iron oxide, which forms in water. Smooth plains, hardly any topography. By luck, we landed in a crater called Eagle, 22 meters across. And we landed right next to rocks. Drove up to the rocks, and they are rocks that formed in an ancient lake. So immediately, we discovered something that was unheard of on Mars. First time we had boots on the surface making measurements that say Mars was warm and wet early in time.
From there, Arvidson continued his role from Washington University in St. Louis. And he says Opportunity's journey exceeded expectations.
And we spent the first years driving from crater to crater to crater, because craters are natural drills. They drill into the subsurface and allow you to see the strata of the rocks.
Never expecting Opportunity to go on for a full year in the harsh conditions of the planet, he says NASA anticipated the mission to last only 3 to 6 months. Good thing the journey lasted more than 6 months, as Arvidson says the next major accomplishment was years later.
We drove over those lake beds onto an ancient crater rim called Endeavour, 22,000 meters across, much older than the lake beds. And since then we've been exploring the rim segments, first ever, from the surface on Mars. And we found again and again and again evidence within fractures for a lot of fluid flow coming up and out, a lot of water, probably active early in time, and mineralogy and chemistry that would have been conducive to habitable environments for microbes. Whether we're there, we don't know, because we don't have the equipment to say. But it demonstrated that earlier you go back in time, the more habitable that planet has been.
So the findings got better with time. But time also makes it harder for the rover to endure the planet. Opportunity stopped communicating with Earth in June of 2018 during an enormous dust storm blanketing Mars. The dust blocked the sunlight, which is what Opportunity needs to survive or carry on. It's solar-powered. But the hope for Opportunity to wake up after the dust cleared was there, as it had already overcome many hurdles.
Most of it was still working. We had problems with the 2 front wheels not able to turn like this, so it became a rear-wheel drive vehicle. But all 6 wheels kind of were able to get it moving backwards or forwards. We had some issues with the permanent memory not working, so all the data that we collected had to be transmitted up to the orbiters at the end of the Mars day, otherwise we lose the data. Some of the instruments were way beyond their times in terms of capability of operating, but we were still getting great images. We could still drive, we could still go up and down hills, we could still acquire panoramas, and we could still get chemistry of rocks and soils, and we could still grind and remove the dust and the whatever coatings were on rocks. So we're still producing really good data. We are sitting on the side of an ancient impact crater called Endeavour.
Opportunity is a crater explorer. The rover has visited and studied the geology of well over 100 impact craters of all sizes. In July 2014, Opportunity broke a record for the longest distance traveled by a land vehicle on a surface that's not on Earth. Then a year later, in March 2015, another milestone. It traveled a distance exceeding 26 miles, which was the distance of a marathon.
Most recently, about a year or so ago, we descended into a valley on the rim called Perseverance Valley. Called Perseverance because we didn't think we'd get there. But we're there about halfway down, and that's a valley that could have formed by water, by wind, or by ice, or some combination. And we're about halfway through the campaign. We have inklings that wind was important, but we can't rule out water. And we'd sure like to finish the campaign driving all the way into Endeavour and finishing up driving through the whole course of the valley system.
Finishing the campaign may never happen, not unless opportunity wakes up. If the rover's time has come to an end, Arvidson understands and says he experienced an amazing 15 years.
January 2004, and then it's been just a blast since then. You know, imagine coming in each day and the rover is driven maybe 60, 70 meters, so you have a brand new landscape that's eerily like the Earth, because Mars had rivers and lakes and exploding steam volcanoes back in the day, billions of years ago. But then when the climate shut down, these surfaces, geomorphic surfaces, were preserved. So it looks like the Earth's deserts. And it's almost like you have a lost cousin, you know, exploring the Mongolian desert and then sending you back images of the surface. So we have a pretty good following on an international basis, mainly because, you know, they're Earth-like surfaces. It's a little eerie and fun.
It was even beginning to take selfies that fans enjoy. Now, the only images are from the reconnaissance orbiter, showing Opportunity's resting spot in Perseverance Valley. For HEC, I'm Kathleen Berger.